Hello, everyone. My name is William Smith, the author of Oil Rich, A Brief History of Guyana and Why the U.S. and China Have Interest. So I'll be talking a little bit about Trump's relationship with Elon Musk and the Panama Canal. And some of you might be asking, why is this important to Guyana and how is this connected to Guyana? So if you don't know, in 2019, Guyana had a lot of oil discovery and all the research was coming out about the amount. And with that, they formed something called the Guyana Natural Resource Fund. And so this is basically where all the money goes for the oil, which sits in this reserve. And this reserve is kept at the Natural Federal Reserve Bank in New York. So with all that being said, we must know U.S. has a lot of influence in Guyana. And this oil discovery with Exxon, which is a U.S. country, also underscores the influence that the U.S. has. And so capturing the Panama Canal and having U.S. influence, especially with oil imports and exports, with the oil traveling down the Panama Canal. If you look at the Panama Canal and if you look at the route, with it passing through Georgetown, it's the shortest route to the U.S. And so it only makes sense that Trump would want to take back the Panama Canal, especially with that significant discovery of oil in Guyana. So it only makes sense that he does have influence on that canal and is able to charge and place tariffs on anybody that wants to utilize the canal. So you have to put these pieces together. You have to understand. And then I mentioned Elon Musk. We all know that Elon Musk is gaining license in Guyana for whatever projects he's trying to do. But when you have the location where Guyana sits, which it's right off of South America, like I mentioned in my other podcast, 3.5-hour flight from Miami, the only English-speaking country in South America. And so you have ties to the Federal Reserve Bank, which that's where the Guyanese Natural Resource Fund is, all the money is being held there. Then you have Exxon, and you have Trump's administration, who during his inauguration, he highlighted how much he will be focusing on oil and gas. So with this discovery and what's taking place in Guyana, Guyana will see some economic increase. But like I've mentioned before, this is the time to be educated. If you live there, if you're a business person, Guyana's a place right now that will be booming. This is what I tell people. This is the oil rush, kind of like what California had in the earlier days when they used to call it the gold rush. For those who know, Guyana is the fastest growing GDP. So we're just going to be seeing more growth in that region. And now Trump is calling for the Panama Canal and having ownership. So the timing of this benefits Guyana. The location of the Panama Canal and that path that passed right through Georgetown benefits Guyana. So when you look at everything that's taking place, is why in my book I highlight A Brief History, because you have to understand the origin of Guyana and its colonial past to really know and understand what's taking place now and the loyalties. So one of my previous videos, I talked about BRICS, the forming of the different countries to compete with the U.S. and their influence. And when you look at how China and India and Brazil are unified for BRICS, it makes me wonder, and a question to consider: will Guyana have to choose his alliance? Will Guyana have to choose if they're going to want to be on the side with the U.S., if they want to be with India, China, and Russia? These are things to consider, because a small, quiet country for years will have global implications for this next generation. And I tell people all the time, the Guyana of today and of yesterday is not going to be the Guyana of tomorrow. So we have to prepare our families. We have to prepare ourselves. If you're not securing your land in Guyana, if you're not ensuring your paperwork is valid and everything related to legal documents and your citizenships and just all your documentation, this is the time now to secure all of that, because the U.S. influence in Guyana will increase. I will say it again. The fact that the money from the oil is being held in New York really highlights who has the influence. And so I know in my book I talk about the interests of U.S. and China and why. And these dynamics just keep coming out throughout the years in the news. But the Panama Canal, that's very influential for Guyana's perspective on the global trade scale, because that means more imports and exports will be flowing through Guyana due to the route of the Panama Canal. I encourage you at home to do your research and look at the path, the quickest path through the Panama Canal. And when you do that, you will see where they outline it and how they draw it up. It's going through Guyana. So once again, do your research, be informed, be educated, and understand the importance of Guyana's influence through this whole global economy. Have a great one. Please follow, share,